a rock star in between the sets. Eyeliner and cigarettes. Shadow is burned, yellow dancing we turn. My lashes are dry, purple teardrops that cry. Don't have a price. Loving you is cherry pie. 'Cause you know that, baby, I'm your biggest fan. I'll follow you until you love me. Paparazzi, baby, there's no other superstar. You know that I'll be your paparazzi. Promise I'll be kind, but I won't stop until everybody's mine. Baby, you'll be famous, chase you down until you love me. Paparazzi, feel good. We dance in the studio, snap, snap to that shit on the radio. Don't stop for anyone. We're plastic, but we still have fun. I'm your biggest fan. I'll follow you until you love me. Paparazzi, baby, there's no other superstar. You know that I'll be your paparazzi. Promise I'll be kind, but I won't stop until everybody's mine. Baby, you'll be famous, chase you down until you love me. Paparazzi.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. What's going on, guys? So, as by the title, you're probably going to be able to tell what this is about. Bulking, being vaulted. Yeah, here we are again. Lyle McDonald made a little call-out video, basically calling Paul Carter out, Scientific Snitch out. I think those are the two he only named. So, you know, kind of hurt, bro. Didn't even talk about Scientifically Jacked. I'm joking. I'm not really a big fucking creator. So, either way, because, well, I know Scientific Snitch. I made a little reaction video already on Instagram about this because he called out Ella by name, right? And said that she cherry picked one study and based her entire argument off of that. And I said that's not true, right? Because it's objectively not, right? Like, Ella used multiple other papers to kind of justify her reasoning and gave her evidence as to why a surplus is probably not necessary to maximize growth, right? And to put this simply, right, the whole idea, if let's say one day you're in a 50 calorie deficit, the next day you're in a 50 calorie surplus, are you not maximizing growth in a 50 calorie deficit? If so, right, why? Why? And that's the question I continue to ask over and over and over, and nobody's answered it. Anybody that I've asked who's supposedly, you know, tried to answer it, they just point right back to outcome data that does not actually look at what we're talking about. Outcome data usually looks at caloric deficits like a 500 plus calorie deficit, right? Versus a 200 calorie surplus. And that's not what we're saying, right? I'm not saying you can maximize growth in a 500 calorie deficit. I don't think there's any evidence to support that. But when we look at something like the Helms paper, which gets shit on for some limitations in methodology, which I find ironic because some of the papers that are justifying bulking have even worse methodology, right? Worse methodology. Terrible, right? Like, oh yeah, the training's good, but then the measurements for hypertrophy are excuse my French. Anyways, point is, with the Helms paper, right, we literally see a literal loss in fat. And before people say skin fold sucks, it's not the best, but skin fold is still pretty decent for detecting fat loss. It doesn't do a good job at detecting body fat percentage, right? You can do all the tests you want. It's not gonna really give you an accurate measurement of that, but it's still a good test to see if you've lost fat. Okay, it is. Whether or not you wanna admit that, it's fine, but it still works, right? Again, how accurate is it in terms of how much fat you lost? Obviously, who knows, right? But you can at least know that you lost fat if you're seeing changes in skin caliber. And it's only, the Helms paper is the only one that actually looked at muscle thickness, right? Not lean body mass, not fat-free mass, right? Like, not using freaking DEXA scans and bod pods. It's the only one that actually looked at a direct measurement of hypertrophy. And they found similar gains with the main gain group. And mind you, they saw decreases, very tiny decreases for some people in fat. So some of those people were in a caloric deficit and they still built similar muscle to a 5% and a 15% surplus. That is interesting to say the least, okay? But again, we're not even here to just talk about outcomes because that's only one paper, right? We don't base our entire arguments off of one paper. We base our arguments off of physiology though, right? Because tension is the driver of growth. Tension is what drives hypertrophy. Now, signaling processes still require energy, but how much energy do you think it really takes to add a few extra grams of contractile proteins? Really, how much do you think it takes? Because people have done and tried to run rough calculations. It's not much. They ran the rough conversions and it roughly equates to about 7-8 grams of contractile tissue. And somebody did the numbers on that and it roughly takes about 10 calories to make that happen. This is your total daily energy expenditure. You need these calories. So it's like if I do cardio, right? I'm walking, I'm burning calories. I'm going to account for that in my TDE. I'm going to walk, let's say I'm burning 200 calories and my maintenance goes from 2,700 to 2,900. I'm going to account for that in my TDE. I account for that. But for some reason, when we tell people to account for muscle growth, they lose their mind. And they're like, no, dude, the energy has to come from somewhere. You have to have a surplus. It's like, if you account for it, you don't need to have you're just eating at maintenance. My biggest problem with explaining this is trying to separate away from bulking and dieting, because so many people have these preconceived notions about what a bulk is and what a diet phase is. So when we're making general recommendations, I would argue we do need a different word from bulking, right? Because people have this really bad association with what bulking really is, about shoveling food in. There is so much there's so much influence around what makes a bulk by all the videos on social media, that if we just call everything a bulk, it just all gets jumbled into this one singular category. Even if you want to say lean bulk, I would even still argue lean bulks are still not properly defined. There's still people who say 250, 300 calorie surplus is a lean bulk. Other people say it's not, right? So right there, we already have people saying, no, 100 calorie surplus is a lean bulk. No, 250 calorie, 300 calorie surplus is a lean bulk. What's the extra 150 calories on top of your 100 calorie surplus doing? That's right, that you're gaining more fat, right? You're just gaining more fat for no reason. So again, I still think we need a different term for this. And that's why a lot of people say maingaining. Now, if you don't like that, again, I don't care. I don't care what you like. It's about what actually is going to help people. And before people say, oh, this is just overcomplicating things, people don't need help. Yes, they do. Do you know how many people are overweight and fat right now because of this advice? Do you know how many people come to me for coaching that say, oh, I bulked up to 200 pounds and I got so fat, bro? Do you know how many times I hear that? It's never ending. Almost every client application I get is somebody like that. Very rarely do I hear people saying, oh, yeah, I'm too lean, bro. I'm too lean. It's so hard. You guys are obsessed with fat, getting fat at this point. That's what it screams to me, is that anybody who talks about being kind of anti-bulking, we always just attract the people who have ginormous eating disorders that just like to justify the amount of food they shove into their face. That's the problem. And I can say that because I came from being 260 pounds down to 180 pounds. Okay? I did that multiple times. I say multiple times. I did it twice, unfortunately, where I got up to 200 something pounds again because I bulked like an idiot after losing all that fat. And I had to do it again. And guess what? It was so much harder to diet down again. So much harder. And now I'm at a spot where I've actually learned and adapted this lifestyle. I found ways to come to peace with hunger. And I am so much better off for it. I love my life now. I'm not miserable every second of my existence being a fat little chud. So either way, point is, right, we have to understand, right, with everything that we know about what happens when we talk about muscle growth, none of it comes back to a caloric surplus. It all comes back to fatigue and tension, right? So if we can maximize tension, minimize fatigue, there's nothing stopping us from growing. We have other energy to pull from. So God forbid we're in a 5-calorie deficit one day, we have energy to pull from our fat stores. That's how that works. That's how thermodynamics works, for all the people who like to talk about that. Not throwing shade at people like TNF. I know he's an advocate of bulking still, but I've had good cordial conversations with them. There's other people who have just been very upset, to say the least. Point is, you do have energy to pull from. It's not the end of the world if you don't go into a caloric surplus. What is an issue is staying in a deficit every single day forever. That is a problem, because eventually that catches up to you, right? Now, there is no real such thing as maingaining in the sense that you can be at perfect maintenance calories and never gain fat ever. That's unfortunately not realistic. So the real maingaining is kind of ad libitum, where you do your best to try to maintain your relative composition long term. If you're at 13% body fat, you try to stay at 13% body fat long term, right? And if you gain 1%, oh well, you can diet down in a week or two and lose that 1%. So that's the point. Your diet phases become very, very short term, not these long 12 plus week cuts like you see bodybuilders sometimes still doing. But funny enough, most bodybuilders have already cracked this code. And it's the most ironic thing is some of them are still so against this whole idea, but they do it. Like they literally are doing the thing we talk about. So many bodybuilders will come out of the show, they'll maintain their leanness, and then they'll diet down. It takes them no time at all to get the stage ready, and they're like 6 to 8 weeks out early, and they're already fucking shredded. Like that's the kind of like, and mind you, you don't have to be like that where you're already like so lean you're almost stage ready at the start of your prep, but at the same time, you can get lean as an individual, be like 12 to 18% body fat, somewhere between there, maintain that for the rest of your life. If you are smart and understand how to track things and how to pay attention to your body composition, and you can make adjustments, right? Because again, it doesn't matter if one day you're in a 100 calorie deficit, another day you're in a 100 calorie surplus, next day 200 calorie deficit, next day 200 calorie surplus. It matters what happens at the end of the week, right? How consistent were you with your training? How consistent were you with your carbohydrate intake? And how did all these factors at play with like your sleep, your stress, and all these things, how did it influence your ability to train in the gym? And if it didn't influence you negatively, then you're still fine, right? So it really does, this conversation really does frustrate me, because I've said this already, I'll say it again. People talk past each other. All I want to know, all I've ever wanted to know, all Ella's wanted to know, all Mundy's wanted to know, everybody who's talked about bulking, all we want to know is what is the actual mechanistic explanation for why a surplus is needed over something as like as tiny as a 50 calorie deficit. What is truly stopping somebody from maximizing growth? And I have yet to see somebody answer that question. Nobody's tried. They always dodge the question every single time. And it's a never ending nightmare of people just report, like it's just the same repetitive data that's just this. It's like surplus, it's like small surplus versus large surplus, and then they're like, yeah, you see, like surpluses are needed to maximize growth. It's like none of them compared what we were actually looking at. Or they look at a deficit, like a 500 700 calorie deficit versus a surplus, and go, yep, surplus better. Oh, look at this lean body mass increase. Oh, look, surplus better. But like all of it's indirect, all of it's using fucking bod pods and DEXA scans. None of it's actually looking at muscle growth. So I don't know. I think it's a bit disingenuous. So either way, you can still bulk and cut if you want. You can still maximize growth doing that. Do you need to? No. That's the simple truth. You don't need to. You can, you don't need to. Okay, so get that through your head. If you want to keep doing it, you want to keep bulking, I don't care. You can do it, but I'm not going to. I'm never going to bulk again. I'm going to diet down to where I want to be at, and I'm going to maintain that relative leanness. I'm going to enjoy my life. You guys can have fun with your perpetual yo-yo diet. And I guess, yeah, have fun. Maybe the only time I will bulk is if I go into a show. If I do a bodybuilding show, I'll have to bulk, because I'm not staying at freaking, 5 to 8% body fat wherever I end up if I do, compete. So that's going to be the end of the video. Hope you enjoyed my little rant. Yeah, that's PSA. Please stop shoving food into your face for no reason, and stop getting fat when you already are, because it's going to get worse. There's no benefits to being more fat than you already are. Have a good day.